Hello everybody and welcome to the Legend of Zelda Marathon. In this series, I'll be going through and making a video on every home console release of the Legend of Zelda. Of course, I'll be starting with the original Zelda on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Zelda for the NES has to be one of the most iconic games of all time, and I think it completely deserves that position. Before playing it, I didn't expect the game to be as good as the other Zeldas, but in the end, it turned out to be fun almost the whole time. The main gameplay loop is explore the overworld, fight enemies for loot, and then find a dungeon. It's in a very engaging loop, as even when you're not in one of the 9 dungeons, you still feel like you're making progress. The game achieves this through its rupee system. When enemies are killed, they drop rupees. Rupees can be exchanged for keys at certain locations throughout the game, and keys can help you get through the dungeon quicker. This means that less experienced players, who take a longer time to get to the dungeons, still make progress and don't just run in circles for half the game. Speaking of the dungeons, those are the best and worst part of the game. The dungeons can be very hard to find, which is a good thing, because when you do find them, it's very exciting. The problem with this is that after the first 5 or so dungeons, they become incredibly cryptic and hard to find, without some kind of online or physical guide. For instance, to find one dungeon, you have to buy a lantern from this specific shop, go to this specific unmarked location, and burn this specific unmarked bush. Nobody will find that without a guide, unless trying to burn down every bush in the entire game world is your idea of fun. Even with that flaw, the inside of the dungeon is where the fun really starts. Each dungeon is like a massive puzzle box that you have to work your way through to unlock. Each dungeon has either a group of enemies, a puzzle, or a boss in it. You have to find or buy keys to unlock each room and continue to the final boss, which you have to kill to get one of the 8 Triforce pieces, the main goal of the game. Although that may sound pretty simple, dungeons are not a cakewalk. You will die a lot, which makes each dungeon a challenge to overcome, which is great because when you finally beat it, it's very satisfying. I would say, though, that the dungeons get a little frustrating by the end, maybe a little too difficult, but you can always buy sword upgrades or new weapons at the shop if it's too much of a challenge. Once you beat the dungeon, you exit back into the overworld, and the loop begins again. But each time it becomes harder and harder to find the next dungeon, and you may have to go to more dangerous areas. Luckily, if you can't find the next dungeon, you can always go to one of the game's later dungeons if you're able to find it. That's one of the great things about The Legend of Zelda on the NES. You can do the dungeons in any order you want, bar the last one, which you have to beat the other 8 to unlock. You'll be on the overworld for a large portion of the game, which would get monotonous in most games. Luckily, the art and music in The Legend of Zelda is amazing. Each enemy, tile, and character was designed in a creative and high-quality way. The important things pop out from the barren and white environment, so you know what is important as soon as you enter an area. I'm a big fan of art styles like this. The music is also spectacular. It will get stuck in your head without a doubt, and although there are only 2 tracks in the game, they both do a good job of not getting too repetitive or annoying. Overall, The Legend of Zelda is an amazing game with a great world and great gameplay. Exploration is rewarding, and the dungeons are a challenge. It also kickstarted one of the best game series of all time. I highly recommend you play The Legend of Zelda on the NES. So did you like the video? If you did, please click the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.